Hello, everyone. Tough times. Yes, that's right. Thank you for the invitation of giving a short setting the scene about communication. My name is Dr. Eckhard von Hirschhausen. I was trained at the Charité to become a medical doctor. Then I went into science communication, working for ARD, for German public television. And yeah, with my own NGO, Healthy Planet, Healthy People, der Stiftung Gesunde Erde, gesunde Menschen, working on this issue of how to start a new conversation. That's my lifetime goal now. And I want to give you a brief insight on what I learned on this journey and why I think health means a lot in conversation about climate change and biodiversity loss. I just came back from COP30 with very mixed feelings, as many of you probably understand. I met Mark, who invited me, and this picture reminded me of this one with Klaus Töpfer. And I thought, well, why did we waste so much time in the last decades? And one of my heroes in communication research is George Marshall from Climate Outreach. Another hero is Per Espen Stoknes. He did a great TED Talk, how to change from apocalypse fatigue into action on global warming. And if you're interested in the slides, they're free. I'll send them to you. I'll give you my email with the last slide. How do we convince conservative people that it is their job? It's not an issue of one party or one generation. There have been some studies on how to communicate with conservative parties, leaving alone the climate deniers of the right-wing populists. How do we communicate inconvenient truth? 5 ideas that I want to put forward. Use the health argument. Show existing solutions. Talk about values. Use your handprint and heartprint, and form weird alliances. This is a study done by Moore and Kamen. What are shared values of many people in society? These are 5 different groups, from the angry people to the pragmatic, the established, and the open. They have only one thing in common. That is gute körperliche und geistige Gesundheit. Good physical and mental health is their top priority, no matter of age or religion or attitude. When you look at trust in professions, this has been replicated in many countries. Red, low trust. Green, high trust. Politicians, bankers, very low. Highest, the fire department. The people who are fighting at the forefront will find no climate deniers there. Nurses, doctors, pharmacists, policemen. So the people who are close to the suffering and to the jobs that are not meant to be serving your own purpose but have a higher altruistic image, they have to be included in the conversation. That's very important. Science, and I was one of the founders of Scientists for Future with 28,000 people signing in 2018, 19. There was a huge movement, and many people of the Charité were joining, and many generations with Detlef Ganten. He's my senior professor. He's over 80 now, and he was chair of Charité, and he joined us. So you could show there was a big alliance. But if you look at the rollback at the moment, we have to admit research shows that showing people research does not work. Since 1972, we have the limits of growth. We had James Hansen, and if you want to talk about the psychology of climate change, Don't Look Up is a masterpiece. So this was one of the reasons why I wanted to put the health argument at the forefront, and I was founding Healthy Planet, Healthy People with this One Health, Planetary Health idea, which was fairly unknown in the 2020 year, and now it has become not a household item, but it is more prominent in the medical field, in the political discussion. And one of the sayings that I coined is, du kannst die Welt nicht ehrenamtlich retten, solange andere sie hauptberuflich zerstören. You cannot solve the problems of the world on a voluntary basis when others are destroying the world on a professional basis. So, as we saw at COP, the fossil lobby is very tough, very well informed, very powerful, and well financed. We have to form alliances to be a lobby of the future. Of course, we have to do the math science. We do the Medienservice Klima und Gesundheit, where we put together all the interesting new studies and facts for journalists, so they don't have to dig so deeply in that complex field, but it is compromised and very concise. You can use it as well, it's only in German. But the other thing is that we have to admit the psychology at the moment, the pendulum is swinging back. That's why tough conversations, tough times. We had long denying climate change isn't real. Okay, climate change isn't real. We're just not convinced it's caused by human. Then came the oops, and now we're in the fuck phase. And people still think, oh, we will adapt somehow. There are three things we will never adapt to, and this has to be said clearly. 42-degree body temperature is the end of any mammal, and human beings are part of the mammal. Irreversible loss of nature. If climate change is the fever of Mother Earth, biodiversity loss is the dementia of Mother Earth. Dementia is the pathological loss of your knowledge, of your wisdom, of your synapses. And in a way, I like that connection of the brain tissue being a network and the web of life being a network. And to illustrate that idea of how biodiversity is very abstract, but the net of life can be put into pictures, this is a short movie from our Echte Leistungsträger campaign. Watch this short video.
Ja, wie kann man sich Artenreichtum vorstellen? Ich spreche gerne vom Netzwerk des Lebens. Hier dieses Einkaufsnetz, das symbolisiert das Netz von allen Arten, was uns trägt. Jede Art ist darin ein Knotenpunkt, eine Schnittstelle. Und mit jeder Art, die verloren geht, verlieren wir diesen Knoten aus dem Netzwerk. Wie bei dem Netz merkt man es eine Weile nicht so deutlich. Aber dann plötzlich häufen sich die Verluste und irgendwann verlieren wir alles.
So one of the examples the others also was seeing, and one thing that we will not adapt to is fake and hate in the age of artificial intelligence. My face, my voice are misused as fake advertisement, and I'm fighting against this for 3 years now. I was suing Meta, Facebook, Insta, WhatsApp, and I won the case, and it doesn't change anything because the big platforms are making 10% of their gross profit with fakes. And they know exactly what they're doing, and they have no interest at all in deleting the fakes. So we're entering a world of, not knowing who said what and is it true or false. So it's funny how people will trust a random influencer's detox tea, but not decades of peer-reviewed scientific research on vaccines and climate change. That's the situation we are in. And in the US, the girls who died at Texas flooding could have been warned, but weather service offices in Texas were vacant. And still, some Republicans say fake weather, fake hurricanes, flooding, fake. It's a crime. And if you want to communicate about the tough disinformation policies of Exxon and the Koch brothers and what have you, these books are highly recommended. Merchants of Doubt, Klimaschmutzlobby, and Männer, die die Welt verbrennen. Who else, apart from the doctors, should be included? Economists. Misinformation, disinformation, global risk report, and extreme weather events, biodiversity loss, critical change system. This is important because still some people think, oh, this is the hype of the left, of some green spinner, some weirdos, and it isn't. When you put the numbers from Oliver Wyman, for example, about quantifying the impact of climate change on human health, you will suddenly have a different conversation because it's trillions and millions of life. One great communicator is Günther Tallinger. He's on the board of Allianz, one of the world's biggest insurance companies. And follow him on LinkedIn. He's very clear on we are entering a world that is not insurable anymore. Gesunde Erde, gesunder Mensch, we try to put this into a short phrase, and one thing that I came up with, das teuerste, was wir jetzt tun können, ist nichts. The most expensive thing we can do now is nothing. Because people always think of, how much does adaptation mitigation costs us? And nobody's talking about the cost of inaction. Nobody? No. This guy talks about it for 30 years now. This is one of my personal heroes, Nicholas Stern, from the London School of Economics, cost of inaction principle, and I was proud to meet him at the COP. Why are we talking about the Amazon? And these are slides that I just got to know from Professor Mali from Oxford. Europe, we always think we're in the center of the world. We're not. Look at the size of the continents when you look at vegetation, gross primary productivity, and you suddenly feel the pulse of Mother Earth. Where is it? Most prominently around a belly, around the Amazon, the Congo Basin, Indonesia, and these are the areas where things grow to a height with a speed that we Europeans don't have. And I loved being inside this tree, and you feel that the tree is so much more than a carbon storage place. And the spiritual dimension of this crisis, there are events where you can include this. For example, that Pope Leo was blessing a melting ice cube was a very strong image, and this was the same week where Donald Trump said climate crisis is a hoax. So wherever you can, include voices that are from a different walk of life, because you never know what of your the person opposite of you is receptible for. So offer them something that might touch a point in their heart that otherwise will be lost. Learn from great communicators on these topics like Laudato Si, and also Heinrich Bedford Strom, friend of mine, is now the leader of the World Churches. Learn from Johann. He's doing a great job with the boundaries, with the Netflix documentaries. I was personally really touched by Jane Goodall. And when she died, you saw how many people she had influenced. I learned a lot from John Oliver. If you want to talk about false balance in discussions, I recommend this sketch where he said the true balance would not be putting one knowledgeable guy next to the denier, but one scientist with 99 other scientists behind him, backing him, and the climate denier. And when you watch this, it's great. I'd love to include this in the talks. This is a picture of how we can use great performances from artists like Die Ärzte. It's a very popular band in Germany. And if you think to sustainable events, you co-communicate benefits of it. And this was at a Danish rock festival where they had phosphate recycling put into the urine. And suddenly you understand what is meant by the planetary boundary of phosphate. Climate is not the biggest issue, sorry to say, but biodiversity collapse is. And this was eye-opening to me, and that's what I choose this button, 3 crises for the price of 2. One thing that I discovered, sound is so much deeper to our soul than visual imagery or statistics. Difference between 1.5 and 2 degrees sounds very abstract, many, but it's very visible and sensible when you listen to a coral reef that's living. You hear the sparkling, you hear the vivid collaboration, and 2 degrees means this. No more sparkle, just wind and waves and dead corals. And suddenly people think differently about this seemingly not very important difference. Talk about good examples of adaptation. I love Paris. The air quality has gone really so much better. And they put up water dust, and it's so refreshing. And at the same time, we have to talk about mental health issues and solastalgia, this concept that nature is meant to give us comfort, give us solace. And if you suddenly realize that even the River Rhine, a mythological power in Germany, Vater Rhein, is close to collapsing, feel that this touches also conservative people. Include other groups of high resonance in the population, like neurologists, psychiatrists, and tell stories of success. Like the ozone hole is closing over time. Why? Because these people agreed on this at the Montreal Protocol. And the funny thing is, when you look at the faces, you probably don't know anyone personally. And this guy with a question mark, nobody knows who he was. Maybe he was just bumming on the picture. Maybe he was very important in the background. Who knows? But this reminds me of my last question that I have for you. Footprint, handprint, heartprint. Handprint is, the biggest leverage that we have is not science, but is politics, is changing how the framework is set. Handprint means, where's the biggest handle? It's in other Rahmenbedingungen. Heartprint means talk about something that's really dear to you, and to mention that just saying nature sounds like we are separate. Umwelt, eine Welt um uns herum, environ, environment. No, we're in the middle, we're connected. And as a physician, I love the image of a lung so closely resembling this Bronchialbaum, tree. And true biodiversity starts where you have no chance of knowing how many creatures are singing at the same time. So I think talking about nature is so much more emotional than talking about CO2 molecules and parts per million. The Legacy Landscape Fund does a great job in leveraging private money with public money, and this picture is from one of the rainforest projects, and it reminds us that these two creatures have co-evolved over 250 million of years. And the salt in the tear of the turtle taken up from the butterfly, and this is circular. How do we communicate inconvenient truth? Health, solutions, values, heartprint, and alliances. Best image for survival is the huddle of penguins, my favorite animals. They stand close together when they are entering tough times. At minus 40 degrees, they survive. And in the middle of the huddle, it's even plus 40 degrees. So penguins from the middle have to go outside to cool down, and then they come back inside. And this is a symbol, a metaphor for what we have to do now. Let's not be separated. Let's not be radicalized. Let's not be frustrated in these tough times, but stand together and share what is valuable and share our social intelligence, which doesn't have to be artificial. And think of what will be left from us. What will the next and grandchildren think about us? What we do and what we don't do leaves traces behind. And what is the trace that you want to leave behind? This is when a penguin falls on his belly and just moves with his wings. And so stumbling and falling down is part of our tough times, but we have to stand up again and think every once in a while, what do we want to leave behind? What is really dear to you? What is meaningful? What is valuable to fight for, even if we don't know if we win? But we want to leave that most beautiful planet of all, knowing that we tried and we gave our best. That's my best advice that I can have for now. Have a great conversation, tough times. Eckhart.